Good morning, everyone. Today I'd like to talk about something that relates to being a Christian but also having an EV. And in the last couple of years, there's kind of been this narrative that if you drive an EV, you're like, left-wing communist. You love Biden and Harris and what have you. So I'd like to talk about a couple things that relate to that. And I'm actually filming this video in front of the church that I've attended. It's a Bible church in my community here in Florida, and I've attended this church for 10 years. And when I started attending the church, there was a need for the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace class, so I started learning about that. And I've actually taught that class multiple times here at my church. So one of the things about that you learn when you teach financial peace, it's a class that focuses on being debt-free and honoring God's blessings. There's actually a lot of scripture about money and money management found in Proverbs, Philippians, Deuteronomy, Numbers, Leviticus. There's a ton of scripture about managing your finances that even apply to modern day life. So I've always tried to live well below my income. I live in a very modest house that I bought 22 years ago for $150,000, and I've continued to pay down that house. I owe a very low balance on that house right now, so it is part of my savings. I've always tried to buy used cars. Actually, my last car I bought is this is a little electric car that I bought for $14,500. So one of the reasons I bought it's a Chevy, it's actually a 2020 Chevy Bolt right there. One of the reasons I bought that car was that 8 years ago I got solar put on the roof of my house. Now at the time, that solar cost $18,000, and it lowered my bill $270 a month. My bill went from, it was like a little over $300. And now all I pay is there's a connection fee with the local utility of about $38. So that's all I've really been paying for electric for 8 years is $38. That's it. So I also had an electric car. So what I figured out was not only did it lower my bill, my electric bill, $200 a month, I also spent about $200 a month less in gasoline because I went from driving a Toyota Avalon with a big V6 to driving a little plug-in electric car. So my net savings is about $450 a month. Now if you take $18,000, that's what I paid for the solar, and you divide that by $400 a month, it turns out that if you combine solar with an electric car, the savings between gasoline and your utility bill pays off the system was paid off in like less than 5 years. So here I am in 2025. The solar on my roof is 8 years old, but it's essentially been paid off for a couple years now. And so I have free energy coming off my roof that powers my electric car. I actually drove here on kilowatts generated off the roof of my house. So in terms of being conservative, in terms of following scripture that has to do with being conservative with your money, to me it makes more sense to embrace green technology if it's cheaper. Now, here's where it doesn't make sense, is if you go out and you spend $80,000 to buy a Tesla when you could have spent, $20,000 on a used car that got you to work the same way. That's ego. But in terms of being a Christian and being conservative, to me it makes a lot more sense to have at least one EV, have solar on your roof, pay off both, right? And I've actually had people say, well, what about the added cost of the electric car? Well, it's not an added cost because if I didn't have the electric car, I needed something to get around. I would have spent money on the same amount of money on a gas-powered car. So what I'm telling people out there is, if you're a Christian and it glorifies God to be debt-free. It glorifies God to be careful with your money. It glorifies God to take care of your family. And if you have a nothing burger electric bill and you're fueling your car for free. Also, the other thing about these EVs is there's no oil changes. very few brake jobs. There's very little maintenance on that car. The only thing I've had done with that car was there was a battery recall, and Chevy actually changed out the battery. They put a brand new battery in my Chevy Bolt. That didn't cost me a dime. I'm never gonna pay for the cost of running this car daily is so much less than a comparable $14,000 used car with a 4-cylinder engine that just uses gasoline. This is dramatically cheap right here. So that's my answer to all the people who say, hey, can you be a Christian and also embrace green technology? What I say to you is, if you don't believe in the environment, you don't believe in climate change, that's fine. But you should believe in living a frugal lifestyle. Because when your expenses are low and your income is decent, you have what Dave Ramsey calls financial peace. So I would say to you, look at your options with solar on your roof. Look at your options with an electric car and save money. Forget about the environment. Just save money for your family. Have a blessed day.